Is it Samuel Basallo's time right now with Adley Rutschman on the shelf? A lot of people think so. I probably wouldn't argue against it. Guy's a fantastic prospect. Got a lot of promise built up into him. Currently hitting 271. He's driving the ball. But let me kind of give you a little bit of a two-way street here with Samuel Basallo. Hitting less than 220 with runners in scoring position so far this year. He's only caught 15 games. He's still kind of rehabbing that elbow back. This is the second year in a row he's had elbow issues. And he's 3 for 16 throwing runners out right now. It doesn't sound all roses and stuff that we see all the time on Twitter and other highlights and whatnot. But Gary Sanchez is going to be your starting catcher. And now Chadwick Trump is going to be your backup catcher for at least 7 days. How does this team win like that? And that's a very valid question from a lot of fans. And I asked the same question myself. You need to ask yourself, with Adley Rutschman on the shelf for over a month, can you make a run with Gary Sanchez as your starting catcher? We know his limitations defensively. We know his limitations with blocking and throwing and, calling a game and working a pitching staff. He's pretty below average at all of that. Can it work? Sure. Do you want it to work? You would ideally like somebody a little bit better in that role. This is where Samuel Basallo comes in. If you don't think that you can make a run without Adley Rutschman for at least a month, call up Basallo. Call him up. Because I get the whole service time manipulation thing, and he may not be ready. He is not going to learn what he needs to learn at Norfolk with that current pitching staff right now. And I say that because every time you look at Norfolk down there, they're down huge very early in the game. So how's Basallo going to get any kind of reps late in the game, dealing with a bullpen, trying to keep a lead, getting guys in and out all the time? He can't learn that. Where is he going to learn? He's going to learn it in the big leagues. You have to be prepared if you bring him up that he has to play every single day. Because at 20 years old, if you bring him up to be a backup catcher, he's going to play maybe every 2 days, maybe 3 days. That's not good development for a 20-year-old. He's not going to get in a rhythm. He's not going to hit the ball at the big league level. And he's probably not going to really generate a rapport with the pitching staff every 2 or 3 days either. There's no point in bringing him up if he's not going to be your starting catcher. Now, again, if you go back to, can you win this year without Adley? And if your answer is no, Samuel Basallo needs to be your starting catcher, playing every day. And I understand how much money you gave Gary Sanchez. I completely understand it all. But you have to look at development. And I understand you're going to start that clock early, but development matters more. Samuel Basallo is going to come up just like every other rookie, and he's going to struggle. And he's got plenty of things to learn, and it's going to at times look ugly. Would you rather that happen now when some people call this season a loss? I would. Let him get his 200, 300 at-bats in. Because we all expect this team to compete in 26 and 27. You don't have time. No matter how good he's hitting in AAA, you don't have time to let him figure it out in 26 and 27. The time is now if he's going to be your starting catcher. If you're going to eventually move him to first base, that's a whole nother conversation. But if he's going to stay behind the plate, the time is right now. He has to learn, because you can't be in the thick of it in 26 or 27 and then say, well, we're going to have to bring up Samuel just because, we're ready for him, and then take your punches on the chin with him. There's 100, 150 at-bats where he's striking out a good bit and getting out and, hitting below 200. It's probably going to happen. Why not do it right now? Get him those couple hundred at-bats. Get him ready to hit 25, 30 home runs when the team is ready to compete. Whether that's, again, behind the plate or at first base. But he needs to be up now, getting his at-bats every day. Do not call him up to be a backup to Gary Sanchez. Do not do it. Because I understand, again, we'll go back to it. I understand you gave Gary a lot of money, and he's probably going to play. And I that's the business side of things. We all don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. It is the business. But there's pros and cons to Samuel Basallo right now. And it's all going to come down to, can you make a run right now? I know most of you are probably going to say, no, they can't. it would be a disservice to the team if Mike Elias said, no, he can't this early. I don't want to say it's not crazy early, but you could rip off some freakish wins real quick and then be right in the thick of things. You got to at least try. The trade deadline's what? 3 weeks away? So we may not see Samuel for 3 weeks. At that point, you've kind of understood where you are in the season at that point. You may trade Gary Sanchez, and then you got Basallo pretty much catching every single day, and then Adley comes back, and then you got to figure out what to do with the two of those together because you can't have Samuel Basallo being a backup catcher. So one of these guys has to move. But face that when that comes around. But right now, you got to quickly identify who you are this year, what you think this team is capable of doing, and that's how you make your decision on Samuel Basallo. You don't just call him up right now because Adley's hurt and you just stick him on the bench and give him that, Kyle Stowers, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo treatment. He's not going to get any better. He's not going to get himself in a position to help you win long-term if he's just playing every couple days. It's just the reality of it. So with that being said, what are you guys' thoughts? What are your thoughts? Should they bring him up and let him be a backup? Or should they tell Gary Sanchez, look, dude, I know we gave you a lot of money, but this is our future. This is our starting catcher right now. We'll deal with the rest later. Gary can still hit. There's no questioning that Gary can still run into a couple home runs once in a while, and he still puts the bat on the ball pretty well in certain situations. But Gary defensively, not even remotely close to a backup catcher. So don't just pull up Basallo just to pull him up. But that's your two-way street right there of maybe what is going through the Orioles' mind, and maybe there's another way there that they need to think. I don't know. I don't know how they're thinking, but I do know they're probably not going to just tell their guys that they're quitting on the season and Basallo is going to be your starting catcher. So let me know your thoughts. Catch you guys later.